Over the years, apart from development projects, the critical relationship between two countries and political interference has played a big role in threatening the very foundation of heritage sites. Hosting the village of Unesco in the Kingdom of Bahrain, the forum witnessed the collaboration of multicultural minds from 30 countries, where the focus on 29 nominations of heritage sites would be intense over the period of the next 10 days.
In Nigeria, we have two main sites. We have the Sukuru landscape, which was the very first site that was inscribed. And then we have the Oshun Oshogbo site, which is the second. So basically, we have only two sites. The one at Sukuru, as I said, is a cultural site, and it's located in the northeastern part of the country. And at this session of the meeting, we have a state of conservation report on that site because some few years back, due to the conflict with the Boko Haram terrorists, they were able to go up on the hill to where this site is located, and they caused some damage. Luckily, some NGOs that had physical presence at the site were the first to alert the international community. So the community has been able to garner some support from government and some private sector to start a process of rebuilding, sort of at least repairing the damage that was caused. Right now the situation at the site is calm. You don't have the terrorists there, but the surrounding areas we're still a bit cautious. Sometimes you have pockets of attacks, mainly using soft targets, women and children carrying suicide bombs. So you find that we really, it's a place that's still under intense security. The second site, the Oshun Oshogbo Grove, is in the southwestern part of the country. And there you have a site that has both tangible and intangible elements. We only enlisted the tangible bit, which is the massive groves with a lot of artistic statues, and basically it's a sacred grove for the worship of a goddess, a Yoruba goddess called Yemoja. So in August every year, you have a big festival at that site, which is the Oshun Oshogbo Festival. And this festival brings in a lot of people from the diaspora. Especially, you'll find that in places like Brazil, there are people that were initially taken away from West Africa during the time of the slave trade, who worship this goddess Yemoja. They all come back to this site. So, as I said, it has the potential also to be listed as an intangible heritage site. So basically those are the two sites. We have other sites on our tentative list, and we look forward to maybe in the near future getting them enlisted. Not really. The only site that we had this incidence, as I said, is our first site, Sukuru site. And perhaps because it's in such a remote location, we've not had any effect on development. The other site where we've had a few challenges is our second site. But there again, there is a pressure of normal urban development because there is a big river, the Ocean River. We've been concerned about controlling pollution, especially during the festival, because as I said, thousands of people come there. And then, of course, the possible issue of modernity, creating an access route that will allow people, visitors, to come into the place. But all these we have to do bearing in mind the master plan for the conservation of the place. But that's the only site that has a bit of development pressure. But the government and the community are very mindful of these issues. And as I said, especially the issue of the pollution, especially after the festival. So otherwise in Sukur, we don't have any issues with conflicts between culture and development. Maybe in the future, but right now there's no such conflict. I don't think so. I don't think specifically. Okay, you see, for Nigeria, we have the National Commission for Museums and Monuments. That's the agency responsible for preservation of heritage sites. And we've not had a situation where specifically a heritage site was targeted, except Sukur. So in terms of if there's any attack, it's just as a collateral damage. Maybe there's an attack on a particular village or something, but not that specifically a cultural site was targeted. We've not had any such incidents. Well, I wouldn't say, again with Sukur, from what we've read in the media, because Sukur is high up on a hill. So from what we've read from the media, it's as if the people that are downhill, whenever there's a threat, they move uphill for refuge. So it was just perhaps accidental that these terrorists followed them uphill to see why do they always move uphill. Okay. So it wasn't, I don't believe they specifically knew that there was a cultural site there, requiring preservation. So they followed the people uphill, and then of course when they followed the people, they ransacked the place, created damage in the chief's palace, and then they came downhill because it's really somewhere far up the hill and in the northeastern part of the country. So it wasn't, I just believe it was like collateral damage. They were following the people and they got up there and saw this place and just created mayhem. No, usually it's a challenge, with tourists, because tourism education is something that's very important, for them to learn to respect each place. As I said, in some cases you have, but this one is not specific to tangible heritage. You have tourists coming for festivals, you have tourists coming for certain events. So that control, the guides, the authorities usually have a tough time trying to educate, trying to make sure immediately after you have any festival or touristic activity that places are cleaned up. Otherwise, it's something that for tourism education, I think worldwide, you need to really be strict. Otherwise, the effect of tourism could really damage, the quality of the site. It could create some permanent damage. If I take, for instance, what I've read about the Taj Mahal recently, that it's now changing color and so on, after so many times. So these are things that maybe tourism education sort of needs to be inculcated, and you have, the tourists themselves respecting the sites that they're visiting. Otherwise, it's a big challenge, yeah. I think it depends on the values of the people, This issue of cleanliness or sustainable living, it's something that for me, from my background, is something that you have to teach right from the beginning. Because if you grow up, knowing that you cannot leave, for instance, you see a tap dripping, you need to close it. You know that you have to dispose your rubbish in a sensible, sustainable manner. These are things you have to teach, values right from the home, right from the school. Because it's very difficult for you to get adults that are just used to dumping everything anywhere to conform to a rule, except where you see that there is a very stringent punishment. For example, if you take another extreme example, it may be people visiting Singapore. You know that you cannot chew gum, you cannot drop. Yes.
In Malaysia.
Yeah, exactly. So you find that unless you go to that extreme, but why not on a day-to-day basis, right from childhood, right from the homes, you teach children how to live sustainably. Also, you look at, I think last week or so, I saw a program where they said some birds on a particular island have been swallowing plastic. And because of the amount of plastic that they've been swallowing, the little chicks are unable to eat. They cannot feed because their stomachs are full of plastic. And so you had some volunteers that would go get these chicks, flush their tummy, their stomachs out with water or whatever, and you find 50, 60 pieces of plastic coming out of one bird. So this issue of environmental sustainability, how we dispose of garbage, and especially things that are not degradable, we just have to take very seriously and start teaching right from the school, in the homes, in the communities. Otherwise, it's too late when somebody is an adult and has already imbibed some bad ways of treating the environment. So we have to start early. And then it also calls for synergy between several ministries in any government, Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Education, Social Development, and the local communities. Otherwise, you can't just one day put a stick on top of someone and say, if you drop this would happen. Let them learn and do it unconsciously, and do it very much appreciating that they need to leave the environment cleaner or even better than they met it. So. Okay, it depends on who makes laws in the country. In most countries, you find it's parliamentarians. The parliamentarians, the politicians. In this meeting, I don't know how many parliamentarians have been invited.
One or two.
One or two. So maybe we need to widen our stakeholder base so that you have parliamentarians either participating at these meetings, or you have a forum whereby you take heritage issues to parliamentarians and the ministers of culture. But the quickest way for me is to get the parliamentarians interested in what is happening at the heritage sites, so that, for instance, in my country, a single parliamentarian can get up and initiate a bill which will later become an act of parliament and could be signed into law. So you have to engage them, because if they are not aware of these things, or they don't see the importance or priority of these things, then nobody would act. Okay, I'm going to say this in Hausa, which is my own language, because in Nigeria we have over 450 languages. So I'm going to say this in Hausa. It's widely spoken. You'll hear it on BBC and so on. Jama'a, magana da nake son na yi shine na gaya wa 'yan uwa da al'umma da hukuma kan cewa dole mu kula da abubuwanmu na al'ada. Kada ya zamanto cewa muna da abubuwan da muka samu na tarihi ba ma kulawa da su. In mun samu wani sabon gini mu rushe tsohon ginin mu. Ya kamata da mu da yaran mu duk a koya mana yadda za mu kula da al'adunmu na gargajiya, saboda duk mutumin da bai san tarihinsa ba to kuma bai san yadda zai tafi ba a nan gaba. Saboda haka nake wannan fatan cewa za mu tashi da mu da al'umma duka gabaki daya mu rika kulawa da kayanmu na gargajiya.